billion, again, extrapolating across all the unions, across the whole time frame, healthcare savings plus an additional $1 billion that's been freed up from the Health Stabilization Fund. I want to emphasize that these savings are enforceable by arbitration. We are absolutely convinced that the process will guarantee that these savings are achieved. And this labor deal with the UFT is not only fair to our educators, but includes a number of important reforms that we think will greatly improve and modernize our school system. We know, I always qualify that there's a lot of steps ahead, but we also know in the history of New York City labor relations that the first major agreement has generally set the pattern for later ones. So we believe that this agreement is a very, very promising start. Now, at the time of the preliminary budget, that was the #1 question mark. Whether we could get to a labor settlement, when and how. There were also major question marks at that time in February regarding state and federal aid. Well, on the state front, we're very appreciative and very proud of the achievements, obviously, crucially, the important funding for UPK, the largest school aid increase in many years, and that school aid made flexible so it could be used in part to achieve some of what we need to initially for after school. So where there had been giant question marks before, now we have a number of good answers that came out of the process in Albany. And on the federal front, although a number of question marks remain, one major piece of progress that was achieved in recent months was the Medicaid waiver that will play a fundamental role in securing health care for communities all over the city going forward. And I want to particularly thank Governor Cuomo for his extraordinary efforts to achieve that waiver. Now, I just want to say at the outset, there are some, I've met them over the years, who have trouble equating fiscal responsibility with progressive values. I think the two must go hand in hand. I think part of being an honest progressive is recognizing the world as it is and achieving the kinds of savings that allow us to actually do the good work of government consistently. So there is nothing unprogressive about being fiscally prudent. In fact, it's necessary. And if you believe in the positive role of government as I do, then you need a strong and stable foundation to allow us to take the steps we need to create more fairness in people's lives. A government that is racked by fiscal instability simply can't do that. A government that has a strong plan going forward is in a position to do a lot of good for people. Another one of my heroes, President Franklin Roosevelt, had a very simple point on this matter. I'd like to quote it. I think it says a lot. He said, quote, "Too often, liberal governments have been wrecked on the rocks of loose fiscal policy." You know that quote warms the hearts of my OMB brothers and sisters, but it's true. And so we intend to be both progressive and fiscally prudent. This document, I think, provides evidence that we are on that road. Let's talk about the city economy. It's generally strong. And we have really made great progress in diversifying our economy. I give credit to the previous administration for their efforts, and we're going to expand upon those. But the improvements we've experienced economically are uneven and in large measure fragile. And we need to be honest about that, and we need to be cautious about that. Obviously, the benefits of our economy are not being shared by a number of our fellow citizens, and we certainly cannot be sure that economic times will remain getting better. We have to be ready for the potential that they might dip down again. Now, if you look at GDP growth, it's recovered from the negative growth of the Great Recession, forecast to continue to rise over the next few years, finally climbing above 3% in 2015. This will be the first time we've seen that since the beginning of the Great Recession. Again, pause for some optimism, but cautious optimism, because you can also see how fitful the recovery has been and how incomplete. And again, very serious disconnect from some of what you see there in that chart that might cause a sense that things are really happening for people across the board versus the reality we know on the ground is much more complex. Our city's gross products, similarly, has finally exceeded pre-recession peak levels. This is the first time since the beginning of the recession, and that was in 2013. We finally exceeded that level. Again, a reason for cautious optimism, but it took quite a while to get there from the crisis that began in 2008. Now, our city industries, almost all of them are up now from their low point of 2009, some only up a little, as you can see. But I want to emphasize that much of the recovery has happened with some of the industries, unfortunately, that have the lowest paying jobs. I'm going to step over here for a second. You see leisure and hospitality, 2012 average wage of $37,000. Retail, average wage $36,000. Other services, average wage $44,000. So some of the areas that are strong also correlate to lower wage, lower benefit jobs. Our message, and it's clear in this budget, it's clear in so much of the work that Deputy Mayor Glenn is doing, is we have to build our economy, we have to expand the economy of the city, further diversify it, create a large number of new jobs, while pushing up the wage and benefit levels, and particularly intensify those sectors that do a better job at providing strong wages and benefits. Those would obviously include the technology sector and the film and TV sectors. So we are focused on job growth, both quantitatively and qualitatively. Because although we appreciate the creation of any and all jobs, this chart points out that we've got to do better on the qualitative side. And we're focused on all the tools we have, and I remind you that even in our huge affordable housing plan, there is a big employment impact in construction and permanent jobs.